Premier Companies. Ryan, how are you doing today?
Great. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. We may have struggle a little bit with names because we got two Ryans in the podcast room today.
Well, I promise to set out every time you call on Ryan. I'll let him talk.
Yeah, because we're going to get out of my comfort zone pretty quick. But we got with us today Ryan Batt, and facilities manager for United Producers Incorporated.
Thank you very much for having me on.
Yeah, Ryan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Ryan Batt. I live over towards the Salem area. I've been marketing livestock for, I guess, at the Little York location over at Scottsburg for about 22 years now. Come in after I graduated out of Vincennes University and got started in there, going to Vincennes sale barn over there and working with a few good guys, and they got me in over here as we built this new facility here whenever the old Bourbon Stockyard shut down there in Louisville, Kentucky. And that was about the year of 2000. I think the Bourbon shut down there in the late 90s, but graduated at West Washington High School there at 2000, went into Vincennes University and come back out. Had my agribusiness degree and just kind of went from there and followed a dream that I always had back in school. I was big in FFA and 4-H and stuff, and never really knew where I was going to be at, and always wanted to farm with my dad and grandpa, and little brother come on along, and I was going to go to school, and went and did that and come back home and kind of thought, we needed more income and stuff like that, and didn't know how stuff was going to work out. And we don't farm a whole lot of ground, but we farm some, and got going into that and got into the stockyard stuff, and I've just took off ever since then. And I enjoy working with the people, and everybody says, oh, you're a cattle trader, you're this, you're that, but it's not about the cattle trading. It's about talking to the people and getting to know the people, and you get a diverse group of people that you get to talk to. I know some of them come in there and they're fighting mad, and some of them come in there that are just greatly appreciative. But I get it. You work all year long, and the blood, sweat, and the tears of the round baler breaking, and the drought that we got experiencing. Just like now, it don't affect just the crop people; it affects the cattle people as well. So, we come in, we do that, we get the earfuls and we get the pats on the backs. But been running that Little York location, I guess, now for 22 years, and been pretty excited about it. We've grown in numbers and we've lost some numbers, and farmers getting out of business, and with the row crops getting high, the fences kind of went down. But like I say, we strive and making people happy as much as we can, but yet still keeping things under wrap. And whenever we get down into the brass roots of it, the stockyard business is probably one of the things that we look at as far as you're taking the cows to town and moving them and not really knowing what you're going to get for them. But it's a live auction. It's the same as going to Neighbor Joe's auction there on Saturday morning and buying the dishes or anything like that. It's public. Anybody can come and come utilize what you got, and we bring in the buyers and the crowd and stuff like that. So it's pretty well just a basic auction, and a lot of people don't know a whole lot about it, but it's fun, and we enjoy everybody that comes over and visit us.
Well, so we got a lot of listeners that's probably not in the livestock industry. So tell us, so a farmer raises the cattle. Tell us, I guess, kind of start very fundamental. So the farmer brings cattle or livestock, or is it just cattle at Little York, or what do they bring in to sell? At
Little York, we offer a variety of species we can sell. We primarily, I guess I would say 92 to 95% on cattle. We do offer some, we'd sell some sheep or some hogs or something like that. Mostly the hogs we get in are just 4-H projects or something that we didn't quite make it to the fair or need to go somewhere else after the shows or something. The sheep project we get in maybe just some stuff for the kids or something that's got fair animals, and mostly stuff like that. We got a competitor, a good friend of mine that lives close to us over here, so he gets a lot of the sheep and goat market of that stuff. But we still offer it, and we have a few horse sales that we rent the barn out to. But basically, we're just running in cattle. And when I say we run cattle, we run a few fed steers, not a whole lot. Most of our fed steers, the business goes to our market in Vincennes, Indiana. Dan Ashley runs that thing over there. Dan does a great job. We do get fat cattle in there at Little York. Those are our steers and heifers that are mature harvest weight type cattle. We primarily survive off feeder calves and cull cows and cull bulls. Feeder calf market, obviously, the calves come off the cows, or they're weaned and preconditioned. They'll come in there and we'll market them to the highest bidder. Most of them will go back to the farm and get vaccinated or something like that. And then for the most part, the cull cows, obviously, they'll go on to harvest going to some of our bigger plants, some big ones, JBS there in Michigan, and then you got Cargill, Wyalusing, Pennsylvania, Green Bay, Wisconsin. That's kind of where some of those go to. So we get, we're local, Southern Indiana, but we're selling to, different states and countries and stuff like that.
So if you're selling that far out, how far are you buying out? I mean, where are your cattle coming from? I know several from Daviess County that work your way. They move east. So
yeah, so we got a big diverse population of where we get our cattle from. Most of the cattle actually come from Southern Indiana, maybe Northern Kentucky. We stretch into Ohio there, the eastern part of Ohio, just a tad bit. We get into Illinois just a little bit, not a whole lot. We got some more markets. Actually, United Producers, I didn't go into this earlier, Sal, but United Producers is actually in, I think we got around 30 markets or drop points. I think we run about 17 live auctions each week. We remove about 3 million head of livestock every year. So,
wow.
So we're moving a lot. We're one of the nation's largest livestock marketing operations that there is, as far as United Producers, the company that I work for. We get around. We got, I think there's 7 states local to us. So in Indiana, we cover 2 auction markets. The 2 auction markets is obviously in Vincennes, Indiana, and Little York, Indiana. We do have some drop points for some hogs and some cattle like Rushville, Frankfort, places like that. We do have places in Ohio, Missouri, Tennessee, Michigan, Illinois. We kind of get around.
Tell us, what's the ownership of the company looks like? So you got 17 drop points or auction markets, kind of like what Little York looks like. So if you, for the listeners, I mean, it's a fairly big complex, and it's got different pens and watering systems throughout, and the cattle. Kind of explain how it comes in and how the auction flows, and then we'll get to the ownership.
Yeah, so I guess like the way they come in is, like a farmer designates he wants to sell his livestock. And it's typical.
Do I need an appointment?
No, you do not need an appointment. No, and the typical thing is we get a lot of cattle during tax time. Like farmers need tax time. They'll come and they'll sell their calves to pay for their property taxes. You get a lot towards Christmas time, obviously. You want to buy that present. The cattle thing is just it's kind of cool to just have some sitting around. You need cash fast. You probably find an auction pretty fast that week to sell those cattle in, and kind of keep the cash flow going. The tractor tire blows, and we need to pay for some round bell string or something like that. Something kind of just to divert stuff. We do have a lot of farmers in our area. Washington County is probably the biggest county. Cow-calf producing county in the state of Indiana. And then you got Lawrence County, which is the county north of us, or actually be east of here, is the second largest cow-calf producing county. So there's a lot of the cattle in southern Indiana makes up the cattle for the state of Indiana.
Wow.
When you bring them in, you bring them in, pull them around back there, and we dang sure will unload them and give them the best care that we can. Animal safety is a big thing right now, and we teach our guys every day on animal safety. We put in a new location, just actually opened a new location 2 weeks ago in Harned, Kentucky. That's a pretty nice facility. We closed the Irvington location down there in Irvington, Kentucky. That barn was getting kind of old and wore down and stuff. We was able to purchase a new barn about 8 miles down the road that had never been ran. And we got it open. We've been running a very successful market there the past 4 weeks. I operate that one too. So I run 2 markets by myself there on that deal. But you bring the cattle in, unload them in the back. We put them in a pen with water, or we'll put them in a dry alley or something, depending on what they are. Go kind of commingle the cows and the bulls just for space and service area for that. But then when they come through, we sell at the Little York location, we'll sell our fed cattle first, and then we'll sell our miscellaneous hogs and sheep if there's maybe 2 or maybe 20. Usually not very many, but then we roll into our feeder calves, and that's our highlight. We try to highlight that first week of the month, which was actually last week there, depending on when this airs, but the first Tuesday of the month, we have a weaned and preconditioned sale on those cattle, and that kind of gives the farmer just a little bit of a premium. I have extra buyers that come into that sale too. And then after that sale, the preconditioned sale, we obviously continue with our regular feeder calves, and then we get under our slaughtered cows and bulls, which that's kind of how it flows. And then as soon as your animal sale, you can pick a check up in the office, or we'll directly send it right in the mail to you.
Wow.
So how do you combine the lots? So if these lots come through, I mean, does the guys that are bringing the animals in to sell, do they bring you enough that if a guy brings in 2, you generally don't sell those 2 just those two. You would mingle them into other lots. Am I correct on that?
Well,
it's been a long time since I've done a catalog.
So our sale is a weighed out sale, and what a weighed out sale means is we're going to weigh the animals into the sale ring. So if you bring in two head of those steers or heifers or whatever, and let's just say that one's a steer and one's a heifer, we're obviously going to sell separate. They're going to sell one steer and one heifer. If a guy like Sal, let's Sal brings in 10 head and he's got 3 steers that match up the same variety of weight, within a 20 to 50 pound spread, or they just look alike or something, we would put those in as a group of 3 and sell them. But we'll sell each farmer continuously until that farmer is done on his feeder cattle. So on the what they have is a commingled sale or a weighed in sale, which would mean if you bring those same 2 head in, they would weigh them off of the truck, and then they would go into a pen. They would be commingled with everyone else's that brung cattle in that day, and they would sell in weight categorized, which is what we do. We do some of that in Kentucky. We try to do some of that in Illinois and Ohio as well. But for our local market, actually the 2 markets that I run, we run those all in what we call a weighed out sale, which is each person's will sell together.
Okay, all right. So if I just brought in 2 or 4, I mean, they would sell until my farm was done. Until the animals I brought in would be.
That's correct, except for the slaughter animals, which would be your fat steers and heifers, or your cull cows and bulls.
Okay.
Yep.
What's the ownership of United Producers? What's the ownership like? Who owns it?
So we're a farmer-owned company. We're a co-op. Co-ops are big. Co-ops are good. National Co-op Month.
Yeah, you're sitting.
Give a shout out right here on Premier Ag. Letting us in here on this and letting us get a shout out on that Co-op Month. We're big and we strive at co-ops. We're like I said, we started out here. We try. We're like everybody else. We want everybody to be happy. We want everybody to be proud to be part of us. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. Let's just be honest. But like I say, it's one of those things where we want to hear your opinion. We want to know what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong. Unfortunately, we hear what we're doing wrong a lot more than we hear what we're doing right. But like I say, we value what our members say, and I think if anybody knows myself and what we do there at Little York, we care. We want to know what we're doing wrong. We want to know what we're doing right. There's some stuff that we can control, and there's stuff that we can't control. I think one of the biggest things, and getting off topic here, Sal, but one of the biggest things is maybe we don't know as much about what we do as far as raising livestock as what we should. And like just because your cow is a black 500-pound steer doesn't mean it's as good as Ryan's black 500-pound steer. So, like I say, there's different qualities and different kinds. And whenever you get into a lot of people talking and stuff, well, that they kind of throw up the co-op thing. Well, we paid into this and we bought into this and we should get this and we should get that. Well, we got to compare apples to apples and not oranges to apples.
Differences in quality.
That's right. That's right.
What, I got a lot of questions. I guess now we'll get into the part where you should probably have a legal disclaimer. What kind of headwinds is the cattle industry? I guess that's the one that we're kind of talking about the most. From what kind of headwinds is what problems is facing the cattle industry today?
We always try to protect you, by the way, in these kind of questions by advertising your phone number after this.
Yeah,
just to make sure that whatever you said gets held accountable.
Go ahead and pop that up on the screen. It's fine. It's fine. I get it all the time. Like in the cattle industry, I mean, looking into it, when COVID hit there a couple years ago, that put a damper on everything, and most people think, oh, well, I ain't got the toilet paper in the store. Well, guess what? I ain't got a truck to haul my cattle. The trucking issue right now is what I wouldn't call it the number one thing, but as far as a local level on my end of it, that trucking thing has changed the game here as far as livestock production. And it doesn't just pertain to cattle. It pertains to cattle, sheep, hogs, poultry, whatever you want to call it. I mean, the price of fuel and the trucking on this thing has gone outrageous. I mean, I'll just throw a prime example out. I know to ship cattle from Scottsburg, Indiana, we're right along I-65, and we're going to go to Plainwell, Michigan. And, that's pretty much just a straight shot north, and it's about 5.5 hours. I had the opportunity to go up there and go through the plant. Great guys up there, good deal. But, that job there, we used to ship cattle up there for $1,500 to $1,800. And now it's costing us, in that neighborhood of $3,000. So,
wow.
A big jump in money. And, when you jump that money, you think, oh, well, I'm getting, 20 cents, 100 more for my cattle per pound. But whenever you add double the trucking on there, Well, it's rough, and that big premium that you see isn't really there. You're still making just about the same dollars as you did whenever cattle was cheap. So I think one of the biggest problems we got now is trucking. And then as far as getting the calves to the west, a lot of calves will go west. So whenever they get bought out of our sale, the feeder calves going west, it may be 2 days to 5 days to get a truck, to where typically it used to just be one sitting at your local Walmart or truck stop, and waiting for a ride to go somewhere.
Wow.
So, that's a big thing. And I don't think that, it's something that's going to change very fast. There's a lot of trucking companies that went out of business. There's a lot of trucking companies that, just that, we're going to just jump to box trailers, or we're going to jump to flatbeds, and we're not going to mess with the livestock because we don't want that guy getting hurt, or that guy missing his slaughter appointment there at the plant and then getting penalized or something like that. So, they're getting harder and harder to find.
Well, there's that's a special kind of person that drives those trucks as well, because they have to have that animal safety too. You talk about that. They're under such scrutiny as well. I have family members that truck livestock for years, and that's a dying breed. They're a proud bunch, and we do appreciate everything that they do. But my goodness, the people with the workforce and the labor market, as we've discussed several times, and everybody's at the same issue as finding them. It takes a special person to put a load of cattle or hogs down the road. For sure.
That's for sure. And like I say, every week we know when the sale's over, whether I'm in Kentucky or I'm in Indiana or Ohio, wherever, that first semi backs up to the chute, and you kind of feel relief that you're going to get it out of there. And then you look back at the end of the night and you still got 2 or 3 loads sitting in the barn, and you're thinking, do I feed hay tonight? Do I feed hay tomorrow? Do I have somebody to come in here and do this? Because just because the trucking, that puts load on back in the barn facility help too. Because you got to have somebody to feed those animals, make sure they're good, make sure their health is right, and all that other stuff. So the trucking things, it isn't just getting them up and down the road on that blacktop. It's about it goes back to when we unloaded them. We unloaded them 6 days ago. They've been standing here for 6 days, 5 days, or whatever. Have they had the right amount of feed? Have they had the right amount of care? Like Sal, you asked me a while ago that some of the big topics, animal safety is huge. I mean, I think you guys know that with your hog deal here with Premier and stuff, and it's. That's something that you can't overlook. And, I would be the first to admit, I don't know as I follow every protocol every time just by natural way. But, like I say, that it's one of those things that, before you shut a gate, and make sure that those animals have enough room in that pen when you shut the gate. Mm-hmm. Make sure those animals have access to water when you leave the barn, or make sure that, there's feed in that trough whenever you're going to be gone, for 24 hours or something. There's got to be that animal safety is huge. And, and then, like I say, we don't have a lot of dairy farms around here anymore, but used to, the dairy farms, they would, have the milk cows that come in, and, they would be milked that morning, and then how long would they sit there?
Yeah.
Those cows are expecting to be milked on site. They're a factory, they're trying to be milked. So, that's pressure on them cows and stuff like that. So, it's one or two things that can hurt you bad, but you got to keep it all in mind on what you got going.
Well, and I think I think we're the only country in the world probably that cares so much about animal health, before we process the animal for food. And a lot of that goes back to just your 4-H training. And so all the fundamentals, the feed and the water and all those things, and taking care of them, that's all just like natural for you and your career. And then there's, as far as the space and those other things, those are just different things that you got to be conscious of to make sure that people are safe that are handling the animals, and make sure the animals are safe in their pens and they can't get their heads stuck in a gate or something like that. So there's just a lot more complications to it than people know.
Yep. Yeah. And you're right. Exactly. On all that stuff. And like I say, we strive for animal safety, and that's it's been something that we've did since, like you say, we was in 4-H or we was running around, the countryside. The
animals get fed first.
Right. The animals get fed first. And it doesn't matter if you milk cows or you didn't milk cows. When you got up in the morning, we went milk cows. When we was little kids, Dad went outside and fed the hogs, and then we opened Christmas presents. You know? So it's one of those deals that,
You're exactly right.
we and it, I don't I don't think it's funny when new people get into livestock, but I think it's a challenge. It's they come to the sale barn and they'll say, well, we want to buy 2 little calves to turn out on our field, and I say, yeah, that's fine. What do you got to put them in? Well, we got this here little pen we bought from Tractor Supply. I said, what does it look like? They said, well, it's chain link fence and it's like a 12 by 12 square. I said, so you bought a dog kennel? And they're like, yeah. And I said, I don't think this is going to work. And they're like, why? I said,
for a while,
because these things are going to grow. And it's and it's fun to help people out, but and just the cost, to tell this person to say, hey, you bought these 2 little calves for $800, and now you're going to have to go spend $3,000 or $4,000 to build some fence and a little barn and stuff to protect this things before you even start.
And they eat
they eat a lot. They eat a lot. That's right. That's right. Them big steers. Me and Sal talked last night. These market steers, they're costing so much on the pound and on the hoof and stuff, and you can get $1,500 to $2,500 in one, depending on what size you get, real fast. And that's not counting the your harvesting stuff and your cuts and stuff like that. But if you figure dollar for dollar, a fed steer butchered at the locker plant cost you $2,500. You go buy that stuff in the store and it costs you $4,800.
Yeah, put that thing.
Now you're talking.
Load that in your SUV and take it home. It's expensive.
So I have to say that Brian hasn't yet told me what the 5 steers I got earlier this week cost me. So now it's coming out in the podcast.
Sounds like it's coming out.
Yeah.
I was just going to wait till we got done.
Well, I've got more questions, but that's probably enough for one podcast. We may have to have Ryan back and go into some more specifics. Ryan, do you have anything else?
I would just ask for your quick synopsis. Nobody's holding you accountable for it. What is the quick outlook on the livestock market? I mean, we're dry. Harvest is screaming for us. We've got river issues. I mean, how does that – we always apply that to fertilizer here or crops here. What are you seeing livestock-wise?
Let me just jump on what you said. The grain market gets the most punishment for the cattle. Whenever corn right now, you're talking I don't know what corn is today. I'm just guessing $6.50 to $7, and the river's low because it ain't rained. That all plays an effect, just like I said earlier. The cattle market can't move unless something else moves. I mean, that's pretty much it. And the only way it can go is down, and that's because we can't get our corn. We can't get corn moved. We can't. It's too dry. The pastures are dried up. I'm just guessing. And it's rough to say. I if we did this 10 years ago, I could come in here and I could tell you what cattle's going to be next June. But whenever we come in here on stuff that's been just so stirred up and shook up since, for 3 or 4 years now and going into it and the prices of stuff changing every day on everything that's going, I can't honestly give you an answer. But, like I say, I can sure guarantee you one thing. People are going to wean their calves in the fall. So the calf market's going to go down just a little bit, I would suggest. And that's just typical. That's something that happens every fall. People wean their calves. They bring them into the sale barn. They get rid of the old cow that's limping for 2 years, and we're finally going to get rid of her and stuff like that. I see the market going to go down on these feeder calves just a little bit. Now, I don't think it'll stay down long. I think once this here fall rains start hit there, they should start raining in November, December. As we start getting cooler out, everything starts moving. The crops get out of the field. We get more flow going. One of our big problems right now, I guess, is, in the western markets. You got in Oklahoma, Texas, they're just as dry as they was 3 months ago.
Wow.
They got a little bit of rain. Now it's all coming back, and they're still dry. So, like I say, I honestly couldn't give you an answer, but I would suggest that this feeder calf market's going to get just a little bit lower. Always going into the fall, the fed cattle market gets just a little bit lower because we think of Thanksgiving, we think of turkey, and those are things that are
and they're high.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I noticed things are getting lower right after I bought the steers. I bought.
Well, Sal, we'll talk about that later. I think the price of fed cattle was up whenever I delivered this.
Yeah,
so.
I don't blame you. You always sell when you're at the bottom. I don't know why you wouldn't buy when you're at the top.
That's right.
So that's all I've got. But I would suggest that we extend this invitation to you to be a regular guest. I think this affects a lot of our customers and listeners. So.
Yeah, we really didn't get into anything else, and Ryan's got a lot of experience with everything from poultry to hogs and cattle also. So, well, Ryan, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having me on here. I had a great time, and like I say, I look forward to coming back and trying to fulfill our listeners with some livestock information.
Sounds great.
Right. Well, that concludes another episode of The High Ground, powered by Premier Companies, and thank you for listening.
Thanks.